Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Welcome back. This is I guess, a quicker and shorter video. I haven't really had time this past few weeks to sit down and do a proper vinyl video, so I thought just to do something a bit different, I'm going to start pulling out what I play, and hopefully on a weekly basis I'll do these really quick sort of flip videos showing what I've listened to during the week. This is actually almost a week and a half's worth of listening in this stack here. But yeah, I mean, I haven't listened to the whole album in its entirety, a few songs here and there and some of them, but yeah, this is about a week's and a half's worth of listening. I won't go through them all in huge amounts of detail, and some of these are new arrivals, so I'll talk about them more in a further video, but yeah, let's get into it. This is a really cool 7-inch. I got recently, I've been wanting for a long time, The Garbage and the Flowers. Really cool. If you hear lots of banging outside, it's because it's really windy outside. Wellington is known as basically one of the windiest cities in the world. As a consequence, it also has the freshest air in the world because everything just gets blown away. Anyway, I said I was going to keep this video short, but I'm already rambling. This masterpiece, Aphrodite's Child, you should all know this record. It really blew the lid open for me in terms of psychedelic music and prog and stuff like that. Wonderful. Yep, Japanese pressing of this. I was just messing around with my speakers. I wanted to test a couple of things. Great stuff. This one I hadn't played in a long time, and probably about 5 or 6 years since I last heard this, and I really enjoyed it. I forgot how good it was. I was expecting it to be a lot more inaccessible, but straight away I was drawn in. Yeah, Silver Apples of the Moon. Pulled this out. A friend of mine recently bought a nice clean copy of this, so I thought I'd pull out mine. Absolutely Essential Fela Kuti. That's the original on Signpost. Mine's not in the great shape, but once the music kicks in, it's really gets going. This is a new arrival, Aldous Harding Designer. I'm really enjoying this at the moment. We're playing it heaps. Lovely as we head into autumn down here. This is out on, is it 4AD and Flying Nun? Yeah, really cool. If you like Kate Bush, check it out, sort of, but not really. I'll talk about that later. Joe Harriott Abstract, one of my all-time favorite jazz records. Absolutely wonderful. Sounds fantastic too. I was talking to a friend about a lot of like early goth and new wave stuff recently, so I pulled out this comp here, Lonely as an Eyesore. Features a whole bunch of artists on here, some Dead Can Dance, This Mortal Coil, all those sorts of people. Really fantastic if you want to get an overview of that 4AD mid-80s scene. Townes Van Zandt, Mother of the Mountain. This one is really wonderful. There's a lot more strings in this, but it's not used in like an overbearing orchestral way. They just sit really subtly in the back of the songs. This is a UK press on Tomato. Wonderful. This was a Vinyl Community Love Train package from Roger Coleman. Gary Bart's Music Is My Sanctuary. I played the track Macaroni off this one, which I really love. This one comes out every few months. Just seems to be one of those records that I can always play and always enjoy. The podcast that I do with my friend Dan, we're doing a challenge where I'm going to recommend some albums to him and he's going to recommend them to me, and then we're going to listen to them separately. When we meet up next time, we're going to talk about our thoughts on them and be completely open about them. So I recommend this to him, and we'll see what his thoughts are when we do the podcast for that. This is, I really like this. It's also one of the better sounding records in my collection, so I sort of play this a lot just for listening purposes. My favourite track on this by far is Bluebird Wine. Absolutely wonderful by Rodney Crowell. Really great. I think I've said this before, but I only knew the Emmylou Harris version, so yeah, really fantastic. Check out the documentary as well. I said when I first showed this, that font is absolutely horrible there. It's New Zealand Music Month here, so a lot of people in a couple of the New Zealand pages I'm in, I'm showing New Zealand stuff, so I thought I'd pull this out. This is a lathe cut by two artists, Empirical and La Gloria. So lathe cut is sort of like a polycarbonate. It's not necessarily vinyl, but it's like a polycarbonate plastic. So the things about lathe cuts are they're a lot cheaper to make, but they also don't last very long, and they get a bit noisier. The reason, basically, a lot of New Zealand smaller experimental artists put things out on lathe is because in New Zealand we don't have a record pressing plant in the country, so everything gets pressed overseas and shipped back in. So there's a guy in Christchurch called Peter King who presses and makes lathe cuts there. So a lot of smaller artists, it's just way more economical to get things done on a lathe. So a lot of experimental stuff, a lot of New Zealand releases get put out on these lathe things here. So yeah, it's getting very hard to find this. Empirical and La Gloria. There you go. Super cool cover on this one. Dreams of Falling, Sandra Bell, another New Zealand record. Check that one out, definitely worth checking out. This is the Record Store Day reissue of Nuclear Child by A.R. Kane. I'll talk about this later in another video, but I was absolutely stoked that this finally came out. It was only available on CD before. But being a Record Store Day release, there's a couple of issues with the pressing. A really bad one, actually. One of the songs basically starts halfway into the song, so no one's done some quality control. Mike Longo, The Awakening, absolutely killer jazz, funk, soul monster. I found this out in rural Australia in like a dirty old shop for, I think it was like $5 or something. So that was a big score many years ago. Played some Conrad. This is really becoming a favourite of mine and a go-to piece. Every time I hear it, I just hear more and more. Con by Conrad Schnitzler. This was everyone's favourite reissue from last year. This is actually not that reissue. This is the Love and Hate pressing, which I got about 5 or 6 years ago. That sounds fine, but it doesn't sound amazing. And apparently the reissue sounds amazing, so I'm very tempted to upgrade. Although this is okay, so if I find a cheap copy, I'll upgrade. And Songs of Innocence, David Axelrod. Wonderful. Love this record. Yeah, there we go. So that was that. I just sort of want to keep these around, the 7 to 8 minute mark. I'm going to try and do them every week. Just nice and simple, quick videos. That's all. All right. Yeah, I want to do some more detailed ones when I get the chance. But for the moment, enjoy that. All right. Cheers, guys. Bye.